hi-ya, hey, hi-ya. You a hi-ya, hey, hi-ya. We hi-ya, hey, yo, hi-ya, hey, yo. You a hi, we hi, oh, you a hi.
Kwai, Nidaba. This is Rick Hunt here at Moccasin Tracks. I'm here to announce that our guest today is Jennifer Lee, Northern Narragansett educator and board member of the Nolumbeka Project, an organization dedicated to honoring the Northeastern Tribal Heritage of the Connecticut River Valley. The word Nolumbeka is Abenaki for the calm waters between the rapids. Jennifer Lee, grandmother, bark basket maker, and culture bearer, provides histories, insights, and perspectives of Native peoples of the Northeast. Jennifer grew up without knowledge of her Native ancestry, which compelled her to seek out the true history and culture of the Northeast Woodlands indigenous peoples as an independent researcher. For roughly 30 years, she has held classes in her Eastern conical wigwam to tell the stories of Northeastern Native peoples and share her cultural knowledge. She is co-producer with the Nolumbeka Project of the 10-part film series Indigenous Voices. She has been a bark basket maker for 40 years, and it's going to be a pleasure to have her on today. Bye. Happiest Tuesday to you all. Thank you for tuning in to Moccasin Tracks. I am your co-host, Rockin' Ricky Hunt, and I am in the studio today with Deb Reger, Rhonda Besaw, and Carolyn Hunt. We are going to be hearing from Jen Lee at 1 o'clock.
Carolyn, for turning everything on. While we have these few moments while we're waiting for Jennifer, I just think it's really great that you are here to, talk to Jennifer, because you knew her back when.
Yes, a long time ago.
She's been doing educational work on the Northeast Native peoples. And if you were to interview her, or maybe introduce her, Rhonda, what would you say about Jennifer Lee?
I would say the amazing Jennifer Lee.
Yeah. I mean, amazing. How so? What do you mean?
Jennifer does it all. She was in the reenactment community for a long time. I remember her from Fort Ticonderoga. And she knows her stuff. She knows her history. She speaks well. She's a kind-hearted person. And her baskets, she has taught, must be thousands of people how to make baskets. Sets up her wigwam, her beautiful wigwam at many different events, invites people in. She's very friendly. And I should stop there because I don't want Jennifer to get a big head. But I could go on and on.
Rick, you also witnessed Jennifer, at powwows. Can you, from your own personal experience, introduce our listeners to Jennifer Lee?
Yeah, I have not seen Jennifer many, many years. Carolyn and I would go to events, and I'm thinking of one particular event, a powwow at Kearsarge Indian Museum, and she was there with this amazing display of her artistry. She is just amazing, such an artisan. Like I said, I haven't seen her or talked with her for a very long time. So I'm excited that she's going to be in our program today.
Okay. Well,
Hi, Jennifer.
All right, here we are.
It's been a long time.
Hi, Jennifer Lee.
It's great to see you.
You too.
We did read a little bit of your bio, and we're so excited to have you. Rhonda and Rick both shared that they, love your work and really honor your work. And so thank you for joining us today.
You're so welcome. And it's an honor to be asked and join with these guys. And I thank you. And I'm so sorry for being late. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're on Indian time.
Oh, hooray.
Well, we wanted to, ask you about, storytelling in music. And, you do that so well when you set up at festivals. Is there something you'd like to share about your work?
Wow. Let's see. Where do I start? I guess I have to start with thank yous to Marge Bruchak and Troy Phillips, because they really encouraged me to continue learning my culture and participating in it when I was feeling very unsure. And, it's my neighbors asked me to come to the schools and share with the kids. And I kept telling them, go ask Marge. She's the PhD. I don't know anything, And they said, well, just share what you're learning. And, Marge said, would you help out? Like, okay. So that's what I've been doing, sharing what I'm learning. And, where I live in Western Massachusetts, the way I look at it is that all people have stereotypes in their heads about who Native people are, from mascots, from the big statue that's a caricature, from advertisements, things that kids have seen on toy packages, give you just a skewed idea of who Indian people are. They really trivialize, demonize the culture. And so it's through meeting other Native people that has been my favorite way to learn. So, I used to go, UMass had this 5-college Native speaker series every spring. And I would go down and try to catch them all, hearing from today's Native people about some of the issues going on. And so then I wanted to kind of bring that to my area. So with my neighbor, Kate Albrecht, and I have been every year getting a cultural council grant and bringing a Native speaker to our town. And it's really educated our whole town. So that's a start.
Yeah. You got a question?
So what else got you started in this, Jennifer Lee, and all that you do?
Well, my Ben Hunt Indian Lore Arts and Crafts book.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Written in 1954, the year I was born, added to by a lot of Western and Eastern Native people, showing the material culture and a pattern for a teepee. And when I was done with high school, my parents are wonderful, wonderful people. They just wanted us to have fun. And they never tried to steer me anywhere, but they always let me know that they'd back me up, whatever I wanted to do. So I figured I could do anything I want to do, but really all I want to do is ride a horse and live in a teepee. And so I did. I lived in a teepee year round for about 6 years in Northern California. I bought a Morgan quarter horse for $100, and I rode her out of the forest and tied her up at a neighbor's and hitchhiked into town to get supplies, hitchhiked back to the horse, rode her back into the forest. And my first daughter was born in that teepee. And I had no idea that any of my ancestors were Native.
Wow.
Oh, what a beautiful story. When did the bark baskets come into play?
About 40 years ago, I had always been very interested to learn the real Native history of this land, like really what did happen here. And so in studying that history, I kept reading about bark in the Northeast Woodlands and how bark is what made the wigwams, the canoes, our storage containers, even memory scrolls that are written on. And I kept reading about it, but I'd never seen any bark baskets, just read about it and started messing around with some birch bark. And then it was one of the Abenaki Confederacy powwows put on by the Nolhegans, 20 years ago, maybe or more. And there was a Micmac man, making birch bark baskets. He came in with his sheetrock bucket full with the apron and the tools in it and birch bark. And he said, I make buckets. I don't make baskets. These are made for work. And I asked him if I could sit and watch him and learn. And he said, yeah. And, I saw his pliers and screwdriver. And then when I moved into this house about 35 years ago, it's an overgrown apple orchard. And every year I have to take down a couple of trees because they're shading the garden or they're growing too close to the house. And I started trying it out, seeing when I could peel the bark. And once I made my first one, I think then a couple of friends had always wanted to make bark baskets. And Aaron Foster was living at a place where there was an elm tree growing into the basement and he had to take it down. And we said, okay, on this date, you're bringing your elm bark. We're sitting on my porch and we're going to give it a try. And I can't stop since.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Yeah. So you also do some storytelling and songs and dancing. Is there anything that you can share with us today on radio for our listeners?
Do you mean a story or do you mean about doing those kind of programs?
Either or, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. What I do in my wigwam, I bring my wigwam to the schools, historic sites. I try to give whoever comes in, whether they're kindergartners or college students, I try to give them a little bit of what pre-contact life was like here, a little bit of what happened when the Europeans came here. What were the differing ways of looking at the world? How did they compare? How were women looked at? What was warfare? What were leaders? What was the relationship to the earth? And then try to give them some about today. Most people are still completely surprised that there's 574 FedRec tribes. Most people don't know that. And then many more state rec and many more people in unrecognized tribes like myself. So, if they're little kids like preschool kids, you just got to tell them a story because that's the way we learn. And actually, my grandchild really remembers a lot of the stories that they've heard, a lot from Willow Green, some from tapes, whenever we drive somewhere, we listen to those stories because, and Melissa Tantaquidgeon said this about stories, if she had to pick one cultural aspect that was most important, she said it was the stories. Yeah. I mean, I could tell a very short story, or I could tell a very long story. I don't know what, or whatever you'd like to do. Plus, I want to talk about the Nolumbeka Project and the movie series a little bit too.
Yes. Let's hear about that. The Indigenous Voices.
Okay, great. Yes. So the Nolumbeka Project started out as the Friends of Wissahinuag in the town of Turners Falls, Massachusetts. There was a great intertribal peace village. The fishing was so good you could catch 5,000 fish in a day. So, you'd be smoking and drying enough fish for the year. And in the meantime, staying there a couple of weeks, having big parties, celebration, dances. But at this place, there was a great sand bank, and a sand company was digging up the sandbank for Route 2 and trashing the human remains in the sandbank, which of course are native. And this woman, I believe Monique Fordham, is who laid her body down in front of the bulldozer and said, no more. You can't do this anymore. I mean, NAGPRA had already been passed, but they were still trashing the bodies. So this group of people that includes David Brule and Diane Dix, they formed the Friends of Wissahickon and got together and stopped it, stopped the desecration, eventually got the land given to them, went on to protect the surrounding area because the whole area is just a giant, very significant village. David Brule got a National Battlefield grant and brought in several of our local tribes, tribal representatives, to sit with local historic commission, the local townspeople, and they've been gathering once a month for at least 10 years. And the kind of conversations and collaborations that have come from that, just the fact that, to have, representative from Narragansett, Abenaki, Nipmuc, Pequot, I'm probably forgetting somebody, forgive me, Wampanoag, sit with the townspeople. This is just, I just can't say enough about how important I think it is. And so they've been able to protect the area, teach the local people about what happened here. We don't really want to call it Turner's Falls anymore. He wasn't really a good influence. We don't like what he did. And every year, Nolumbeka Project has a day of remembrance and has Native speakers come, and the townspeople come and listen to Native speakers. And it's just a really beautiful thing. So anyway, during COVID, I had no basket classes, I had no school programs, and the government was giving me money, PUA. So I said, well, I'm going to join the Nolumbeka Project. I've been watching them for decades. I love what they do. And I thought, oh yeah, just a little, mellow meeting here and there. And then Diane comes and says, we got a $4,000 grant to make a movie for the schools. I'm like, I want to do it. I got an idea. I want to do it. Because there was, like, with that movie, We Still Live Here, they had little short movies from Indigenous people. And I found that to be just profound, all ages. Some were from little kids. And I said, well, let's just hear from the people themselves. So then Diane, being the kind of shaker and mover that one woman is, she went and applied to 50 towns for cultural council grants and got me $30,000 to make this movie. So, which meant we could pay a real videographer to make a quality movie and somebody who is experienced at putting together the story to make it watchable. So Robbie Lepser, Turning Tide Films, we got a hold of him. And basically what we did is interview people who came to the Pakuntuk Homelands Festival, but then also some of my favorite artists. I mean, I picked two artists that to me are top of the line in what they do, and they're totally unheard of, totally unrecognized. Mm-hmm. And, see their work. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie, when you see Monica Alexander's quill work and with Robbie's videography, and then Wes Pecor's carving. I mean, the carving goes back in his family for generations. It gives me chills. And so we heard from some educators, some artists, and some elders. And and the schools have been using that. UMass has used it. This professor of engineering said, can I use your movie for my students? I'm like, yeah, but why? They're engineering students. He said, I want them to hear a different viewpoint. So I was just really delighted. And, that the elementary schools and middle schools are using it. So it also, each little movie, the movies are short, 5 minutes, 17 minutes, and they each come with a couple of pages that have definitions. Things like, what does a Native American look like? Who is Native American? What does Haudenosaunee mean? What is wampum? And it has links to find out more. Just, especially teachers have to teach Native history, but they haven't been taught it. They don't know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and then I wrote a little 17-page booklet, Northeast Native History. that just it takes you from pre-contact to today. It's a lot of things that I found very surprising. Like I was really surprised here, about the Cherokee removal. But that the Cherokee removal, even though it's Southern, it affected every Native person in the North, every Native person everywhere. But, like that speech from Attawaneto, that Abenaki speech, that really just, it changed my vision, changed what was in my head about Native history. So it's got a bit of that in there, and I'm hoping the teachers find it useful.
Oh, beautiful. Yay. That's excellent work, Jennifer Lee. Yay, good for you. And coming up in the first week in August is that the Comtuck Homelands Festival. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that? And people are welcome to join in. I understand there's some canoeing that happens the Friday before.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Fill us in.
Okay, so the Friday before, there'll be a couple of Mishoons paddling, and we try to put them out front, and then people that want to paddle, and we usually have some Native educators so that everybody can paddle, but you're sure to learn some things. And so the festival, I know Tom Porter will be there, who I hold in high esteem. It's just an amazing human being, a really beautiful human being with so much love and inclusivity, and he'll be there. I'm forgetting who our musicians are. We've had some of the best musicians. We've had Jennifer Kreisberg. We've had Keith Sokola. I'm so sorry I'm forgetting who's coming this year, but it's a great festival. And what I'm hearing from Native folks is that they love it. It's in a beautiful site. The only problem is you can't stay overnight. But it's just a feel-good Native cultural festival. And Justin Beatty will be our MC. And it's open to everybody. There's vendors there. It's a good time.
Right. You have a question for Jennifer?
So what do you do in your spare time, Jennifer? Hey, I was telling them about you doing the senior jingle dress dancing.
Oh, fancy shawl, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yes, fancy shawl or traditional. Yeah, I've never done jingle.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I would have to be educated in the proper way to do that.
Yeah.
So I was very late in years to learn fancy shawl dancing, and I still do a little bit of it, but it's kind of funny. It's really a young girl's dance.
You do it well, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you, Rhonda. Oh, so sweet.
We know that you love what you're doing, and you have really educated so many people on Native ways, and we really appreciate that. We do have time for a short story if you are up for it.
Okay. Well, I hope Marge won't be mad at me for telling the beaver story. It's one of my favorites, and it's one that everyone should know about this because you can see the beaver today. You can see the actual giant beaver in the story. So this story takes place in Deerfield, Massachusetts. And I think it's Marge who really brought it out into the public light. But it goes something like, long ago, there was a really giant beaver. And this giant beaver kept making his pond bigger and bigger because he could. But the problem was he was taking the land from the animals and the fish, and some said he even ate people. And so that the fish and the birds talked to him and said, could you just stop making your pond bigger and bigger so that there's a place for all of us? And they couldn't get the beaver to listen to them. So they called on Habermas, who is like an earth shaper. And Habermas came and he tore out this big oak tree and went chasing that beaver, asked him to stop making his pond bigger and bigger, but he wouldn't. And so he cracked him on the back of the neck with that big oak tree. And when he did that, that giant, giant pond that went all the way from Lyme, New Hampshire to Rocky Hill, Connecticut, his dam let go, and it became the Connecticut or Quinnipiac River that goes all the way from Canada to the ocean. So, in the 1800s, I think it was then, this geologist thought he had discovered the pond and it's been called Lake Hitchcock ever since. But that's been a native story for who knows how many thousands of years, telling the geology of the land in a story that has also ethics and morals and also geology in it.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. You seem to be a happy person. And we often ask our guests, what keeps you happy? Where does the happy happen for you?
It's all about the people. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting here next to Rhonda, Besaw, and Rick, and you guys are like, I'm taking up airtime, like in front of you guys. Like, oh my gosh! But it's the people, and I think it's also that, meeting Rick so long ago too, and seeing that he's on this path, and I'm on this path too, and we're paddling these canoes down this river. And we're paddling the same way. And, even though we're not together a lot, when I think about Rhonda up there in the North Country beading every day, I'm like, wow, I wish I was making baskets every day, but, a lot of days. And it's the people, it's my family too, my daughter and my grandkids, and my friends.
Yeah. Oh. Sweet. You got a question, Rick, for Jennifer?
I'm just delighted to see you, Jennifer. It's been so long. Yeah. And I'm glad to see that you're so involved with the project with the Falls area and what you're doing there and in the filming. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I'm smelling something downstairs. I've got to turn the stove off. I'll be right back, okay?
It's a beaver.
All right. Carolyn, maybe you got a song for us?
Oh, that's a big beaver. She looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, nothing started on fire.
Okay. That's great. All right.
It's the lesson of gratitude too, something that I learned, in my adult life is really the way to pray and the way to be is gratitude, is grateful. Mm-hmm. And it really matters. Like, it's not just making you feel better. It changes the world when you have those kind of thoughts. Yeah.
I also want to point out that Carolyn Hunt is with us too, and she's running the board, so she's a little bit behind the scene, but I'll turn the computer so you can see her.
Okay, thank you. Hey there.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're having fun, and we got Rhonda to make the trip over here to the big town of Littleton, New Hampshire. Yeah. And she came in wearing her Elvis Presley,
can you see
I don't know if you can see.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sweet.
Amazing.
She's pretty hip.
Really?
She comes on radio with Elvis.
Right?
What a yeah. Well, we're so excited to have you here, but we're also having so much fun. So thank you for allowing us to be with you and laugh with you and just appreciate this good work. And, is there anything that you'd like our listeners to take away from this conversation today?
Well, let's see. It's there's kind of like a sticky issue I'd like to talk about. and that's about Native identity and who gets to say they're Native and who gets to say you're not and stuff like that. And, I was doing a program in New Jersey, and there were school buses with Yiddish writing on them. And so it was Jewish school, and the kids that came out of the buses were visibly traditionally Jewish, but some had red hair, some had blonde hair, some looked more typically Jewish. And I just was like, it doesn't matter. They're Jewish, that's their culture. That's the culture they practice. And, some people say, well, you're only Native if you're enrolled in a federally recognized tribe. And, that's a very, very, my friends who are enrolled in their tribes or have been raised in their culture, it's a very different experience than mine, which is like, I find out as an adult that some of my ancestors were Native, and maybe there were some little things that came down on my family, but it just was not, we were raised Catholic. And, for people who have a Native ancestor, or there's probably all kinds of people that have carried on Native traditions. I don't think it's really right for somebody to say who you are. Who you are is who you are. Your heart and soul. How do you break it down to percentages? Do you get to a certain percentage and then all of a sudden you're not Native? It's just a matter of what way you live.
Yes.
So just a little bit about that sticky wicket.
Thank you, Jennifer Lee.
You're welcome, Rhonda Besaw.
Do you want to add to that, Rhonda?
Yeah, Rhonda.
No, I don't think
Rick?
What I might have to say will not be.
Come on, help me, Rhonda.
Now we're going to have to play a song.
Well, having been around the Native community for many, many, many years, I have met people who have come up to me and said, I don't have any Native blood, but for all intents and purposes, they live the culture, they honor the spirituality. In many respects, I have met people who are more Native than some people who are Native, with the plastic pink flamingos out in front of the camper. And, it really, it's in your heart, I think.
Good answer. Rhonda, we can't get you to speak to it.
Well, I'll tell a story. It's a real short one, but I remember going to school and being about 9, coming home and saying, hey, I just learned all this stuff about Indians. It's really, really bad. And that's when my dad told me that we were Native. And I cried. I just sobbed. It was like, no. So it took time to come to grips with it. But you hear a lot of people say, what part Indian are you? Isn't that funny? And I say, oh, my elbow. It all landed in my left elbow,
Yes.
How can you break us down into parts and pieces? it's more than blood. It's the culture, the lifestyle, and the gratitude, like you spoke about, is such a big part of who we are. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah. We're going to have closing comments. So if you have any words that you'd like our listeners to hear a little bit more, Jennifer, we thank you for the gift of your words today, and thank you for being with us. And we are closing out, you guys. So we'll let Jennifer have her say.
One of the happiest feelings in my life is meeting Native people and connecting with them and feeling accepted. Is just the happiest joy that there is. It's all about the people.
Uh-huh.
It's all about the people. Yep.
Right.
So, and thank you to all the people, all the elders that have taught and kept the traditions. Thank you to all the allies that protect the space for Native people. People like Colin Calloway, who brought out the research, people like Shirley Dunn, who brought out the research for the Mohicans. Thank you. Thanks to everybody who's helped out.
Beautiful. Anything else, Rhonda? Or?
Wigwam Kani. Travel safe.
Wigwam Kani. Hidon Basqua.
Hope to see you a lot sooner again, Jen.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you again. And we'll share this interview, and hopefully you'll come visit us again. Now you know where we are.
There you go.
Come on up, Jennifer Lee.
I will. It's on my basket list of things to do.
Adios.
Adios. See y'all soon.
Hey, bye now.